It's Wednesday, the 11th of May, 2022. Welcome to the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Amyler.
Good morning, Michael.
All right, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's jump into it. Story number 1, Sean. Australian businesses, it seems, are pretty confident and enjoying some strong trading conditions at the moment.
Yes, that was sort of the main news out of a bunch of economic releases yesterday. The latest National Australia Bank survey shows that the corporate mood is still above average levels and conditions in most industries look fairly strong. But, and it's a big but, higher costs pose a significant challenge to trading conditions. There was also retail sales figures out. Sales jumped in the first quarter of the year with $93 billion going through Australian cash registers. That was a record number. As a result of easing COVID restrictions, some of the biggest winners were like cafes, restaurants and takeaway food services, but also general retailing, clothing and footwear and department stores. The Bureau also released monthly turnover information for different sectors, and pretty much all sectors are turning over more money. All of that is good news, notwithstanding the fact that the share market keeps selling off. It was down another % yesterday. At one point, it was at its lowest in 3 months. The Aussie dollar keeps falling. One point yesterday, it was trading around 69.5%. The only thing that's up are actually bond yields, which are yielding more than 3%, which is better than a term deposit and something investors are thinking more and more about.
All right, story number 2, Sean, and you knew I was going to do this at some point this week, which is ask you to give us an election update and set to a time limit for it. Today, your time limit is 42 seconds to tell us everything we need to know about the election campaign from the last 24 hours. And go.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison was doing the media rounds criticising the Labor Party for not having a plan for government. It's a loud refrain from critics of Labor at the moment, the fact that Labor isn't ready to govern and can it articulate its plan. Now, that line of criticism seems to be gaining some traction, hence Scott Morrison's use of it yesterday. Anthony Albanese had another day of clarifying earlier comments, this time on the minimum wage. In the morning, he said he didn't support the ACTU campaign to increase the minimum wage by 5.5%, but by the afternoon, he did. Mr Albanese was on the hustings in Victoria and committed $2 billion towards Melbourne's suburban rail loop if Labor wins.
To the second. Well done.
There you go.
Oh, that is extraordinary. That is fantastic. All right, moving on to story number 3, Sean, and this is actually a potentially very big story. Delivery group DoorDash has pledged to work with the Transport Workers Union to regulate the gig economy.
Yes, and that includes developing minimum rights and conditions for on-demand delivery riders. It's a significant step for gig economy employees, and it will establish overtime and fair pay for DoorDash workers. The Charter of Principles signed by both parties is the first of its kind between an Australian union and a delivery platform, according to the Financial Review. The union said it recognised the flexible nature of gig work while agreeing to the need for enforceable industry-wide standards set by an independent body. Now, DoorDash is the biggest delivery platform in the US. It's been in Australia since 2019. Certainly the deal will put pressure on the federal government and other gig economy companies to develop minimum pay and conditions for gig economy workers.
Okay, story number 4, Sean, is about a sector we really don't talk a huge amount about, big tobacco. Philip Morris International is close to buying European rival Swedish Match for around $16 billion US.
That's right. Tobacco groups around the world are betting on the rapidly growing market for cigarette alternatives. Match is the leader in so-called snus, or oral nicotine pouches, according to the Financial Times. Philip Morris is among the most aggressive companies in an industry scrambling to make inroads in new generation products, including vapes and heated tobacco devices, which are pitched as less harmful than combustible cigarettes. Tobacco companies remain big businesses, even though many investors won't go near them. For example, Michael, did you know British American Tobacco is the 8th largest group on the FTSE 100, and there's so much going on in that sector at the moment.
Is that right? The 8th largest?
Yeah.
There you go. I learned something from you every single day. So that's that's what I learned today.
It's more about you than me, anyway.
Yes, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Story number 5, Sean. Last one. I know you love your art. So this is a big purchase. A silk screen of Marilyn Monroe by Andy Warhol has sold at Christie's for a record $195 million US. That is huge.
Huge. I'm sure you know the picture. Marilyn with yellow hair, blue eyeshadow and a pink face, red lipstick. Pretty iconic, pretty expensive too. The price was the highest ever for a 20th century artwork to sell at auction, the highest price for an American work, and the second most expensive in history, behind Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, which sold a few years ago for $450 million. This one, the silk screen, sold for $195 million. The buyer was a dealer, and the sale was made in about 3.5 minutes.
It's just a whole nother world of wealth that I would love to be part of, but I just think it could be slightly out of reach.
I think so.
All right, that's it. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Wednesday, the 11th of May, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't quite enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed on your podcast platform. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.